Good evening. I'd like to welcome everybody to the meeting tonight. I'd like to start off with a moment of silent prayer. Amen. Move on to the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next up is a public hearing on the tax exempt loan for Providence Fire and Rescue. We have a motion to open up for a public hearing on the fire department. So moved. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All right. Do we have public comments on the tax exempt loan for Providence Fire and Rescue?
None of us signed up to talk, or if anybody has any questions, or if we need to say anything, we can.
Anything you'd like to tell us about it?
Come on up here.
On behalf of Providence Fire and Rescue, thank you guys for putting this on the agenda and considering our request. We're new to this, so we don't really know what information y'all need, so please feel free to ask us. I'm Irvin Daly, President of the Board of Directors, and this is Sledge Sergeant, our Deputy Chief. We have several rows of volunteers and line officers here to support us tonight. So again, thank you for putting this on the agenda. Sledge is going to briefly summarize our substation project.
So our substation will be located close to the intersection of Allison Road and Park Springs Road. It'll serve the western side of our district. It'll help get homeowners who are outside of the 5 mile and 6 mile district into under a 5 mile district. It'll help homeowners not only in Providence Fire District, but also Pelham, Casville, and Yanceyville's district. They'll be able to use our insurance rating, even though we aren't actually covering that district as a fire service. We do in mutual aid, but it's not our primary district. The building will be roughly a 60 by 50. It'll have 4 bays, heat, electricity, lights. There'll be no bathroom. We are going to plan for a bathroom in the future, but it will not be on currently. Land was donated by two different families to the fire department to build it. And the grading has been done for potential builders to come and look at the actual site of where they will be building the building.
We're hoping our total project's gonna run them at 250,000 or less. We're shooting at 250, hoping it'll come in less. We've looked at a 20-year loan. But again, this is part of the process with the lending institution that we're talking about.
Questions from the board?
Who would be securing the loan?
Providence Fire and Rescue would actually be securing the loan through Roxborough Savings and Loan.
Is it 250 just for the building itself?
No, that's total project.
Total project.
Because the two plots of land were donated, so the 250 is gonna be total project. So we're hoping it's gonna come in a little bit less than that, so.
What about total project? Are you talking equipment included in a total project price?
No, sir, because we're not having to buy any special equipment. We got plenty of equipment, apparatus, that type thing in our current department.
So you're just gonna put part of your current apparatus at the substation?
That is correct, yes, sir.
It's my understanding that this is like an IRS formality that you need approval of the board, that the fire department has first an obligation on money.
That is correct. I was a little unclear myself as to why it was needed. So I talked to the loan officer today, and basically with that lending institution, because we're nonprofit, they're able to go in at a much lower interest rate than if we were not nonprofit. But since we're considered we're applying for a tax exempt loan, that's why it has to come before the Board of Commissioners.
Anything y'all would like to add on it? Clarification?
Mr. Chairman, I'll just go ahead and make a motion to let them have this as a tax loan.
I agree with that. Can we hear what the attorneys want to say first?
Oh, okay.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, thank you, Board of Commissioners, good evening. I'll just follow up on what Mr. Sarton and Mr. Daly said. In my research for the IRS regulations in regards to the volunteer fire departments, it seems that there's actual language in the IRS code that relates to bonds of certain volunteer fire departments. So in order for a volunteer fire department to secure a tax exempt loan, the IRS requires that they seek approval from the local governmental authority, which in this case would be the Board of Commissioners. And in this resolution, the language is clear that such approval does not obligate the County of Caswell or its Board of Commissioners in any way regarding the repayment of the debt.
Thank you, sir. Okay, have a
Matt, I'll make a motion.
second.
Second.
Yeah. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
With that, I have a motion to close out the public hearing.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Next item up is public comments. Caswell Business Broadcasting Network.
Good evening, Commissioners, County Manager, County Attorney, Caswell County patrons and citizens. We're back here again tonight. First of all, before we get started tonight, we wanted to be able to show the Commissioners, we want to be able to show the county that we're not just a Facebook page. Okay? Let's get it. Let me show you some demographics over here. We are now, as Caswell Business Broadcasting Network, LLC. We are a business. We are a licensed media business. Over the last 90 days, as you can see, we've gained 280,908 engagements. That's just not somebody passing by our little Facebook page looking at it. That's 280,000 engagements in 90 days. These are real demographics. from social media. We'll have the next slide. This is just engagements. Our reach in the last 90 days has been almost 150,000, up 7%. Next slide. In the last 90 days, we've gained 600 new followers. We're at 4,850 followers. Those followers are within 100 miles of this, where we're standing right now. The county speaks. This is our transparency and our accountability for Caswell County now. Next slide. Age and gender. Looks like the women got all you men beat out. 69% of our viewing population are women. 30% are men. And the other part, I don't know if they exist. Next slide. These are the top cities that we have. Yanceyville, 670 viewers in Yanceyville alone, 500 in Danville, and it goes right on down the line. They're all over. They're all following us because of what we're trying to accomplish with transparency and accountability from our commissioners, our county managers, all of those that are involved in public speaking here in this county. We even have followers in Italy, Philippines, and so forth. Not that they count, but they're still there. So that's a little demographics about us and who we are. We're not going anywhere. We're not going to quit. You're not going to see us run away. We're not going to hide. We're going to continue to put out the news. We're going to continue to put out the truth. Whether you like it or not, some people don't. Some people don't like the truth. We're going to make sure that happens in Caswell County from now on. We are your oversight, and we're not going anywhere. You addressed some FOIAs to you. All of you commissioners were sent FOIAs. You'll comply with those FOIAs eventually. One of them was for Brian Miller, the former county manager, the crook Brian Miller. I'll say that out loud because I caught him doing business with one of his buddies without a contract when he was managing Caswell County on film. So let's go back to this little piece of paper that y'all sent to me through an attorney. $1,260 from several years ago for FOIA. I asked for FOIA from Brian Miller. What does he do? He doesn't send it electronically. He goes and makes up $1,260 worth of pages and lays them on his desk. Come on up here and get your FOIA now, big boy, and pay for them. That's baloney. I never agreed to that at all, never signed an agreement. It's supposed to have been sent electronically. Anyway, that's a moot issue. You've already done your thing with your attorney. Yes, sir.
Wind it up, you get your 3 minutes.
Are we good now?
You get your 3 minutes, can you wind it up? You're at your 3 minute limit, sir, can you wind it up?
Yes. So I want to thank y'all for at least understanding where we're coming from, where we're going. We want transparency for the county. We want our FOIAs answered. They will be. There's some more on the way. So we'll get them one way or the other. The other thing, the last part of it is you take care of it, is the accosting of the citizens and threatening citizens from Frank Rose and Tim Yarborough. That's the next agenda. Thank you.
Next up, we have recognitions. Anyone that the board would like to recognize?
Mr. Dixon, wasn't it for more people to do public comments?
Thank you, Carla. You're absolutely right. Let me back up, folks. I skipped over 2 names on the list. Sherry Stanfield. Go right here. Sorry, ma'am.
It's fine. Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Sherry Stanfield Oakley of 587 Egypt Road in Prospect Hill. Minus my 4 years in Chapel Hill for college and the first 5 years of my marriage spent in Orange County, I'm a lifelong resident of Caswell County. I've always been proud to call Caswell County home, as the people here are genuinely good and caring people. I regularly read the Caswell Messenger's accounts and the minutes from your meetings to keep up with what's going on in our county, as I am a taxpayer and am locally involved in my community. As an observer looking from the outside, this county seems to be falling apart. Chaos reigns from the top down and the bottom up. My impressions are not that not only does the right hand not know what the left hand is doing, but the left index finger doesn't even know what the left thumb is doing. During the August 21st meeting, several rules were violated during the public comments, particularly number 7 and 8. The speaker was allowed to individually attack some of your members, and no one stepped in to ask the speaker to refrain. This was difficult to watch, and I'm sure difficult to endure. There are rules regarding public comments, and they should be followed. In another incident during the meeting, a motion was made, and the discussion, and I do use that term lightly, was not respectful or professional. There were guests from North Carolina offices at the meeting, and to be candid, the discussion that followed that motion was embarrassing. I see no problem in you all voting against a motion, but the discussion should be relevant and not a personal attack. As elected commissioners, you represent Caswell County. Ma'am, sirs, I respectfully submit that all of you did not represent me on August 21st. Your collective job is to manage the county's resources for the betterment of the citizens of Caswell County. You are the face of Caswell County. Your motions, your seconds, your discussion, and your votes should reflect your constituents' wishes, not your individual wishes. I suspect you would all agree with me that the actions in Washington are a disgrace to the reputation of most Americans, given the bickering that goes on across the aisle. Is that how all of you wish to be seen? I think not. I urge you to put your personal agendas aside and work together to make Caswell County the best county in the state. And in conclusion, I'd like to leave you with Paul's words to Timothy concerning men who are in leadership positions. 1 Timothy chapter 2, verses 1 through 3. I urge then, first of all, that petitions, prayers, intercession, and thanksgiving be made for all people, for kings and all those in authority, that we may live peaceful and quiet lives in all godliness and holiness. This is good and pleases God our Savior. Thank you for your time and attention, and I have sent each of you a copy of my comments to your county email.
Thank you very much. Next up, we have Laura Picardo.
Good evening, County Commissioners. I hope you all are doing well. I'm here solely from a data perspective. I'm helping my friend Jamie apply for the tourism grant for Caswell County, and I found some data I just wanted to come and share with y'all. This is regarding the Danville Casino. So when I was looking to see at the traffic, how much traffic was coming to the Danville Casino, according to the June report, they made $19 million in the month of June. And one of our objectives is to grab traffic and try to get them to enjoy the Caswell County area. According to the Danville Casino gets its 3-month report card by Grace Mammon with the Cardinal News. It is estimated between 4,000 and 5,000 visitors are coming to the Danville Casino on a weekend. And I also wanted to note that we seriously need a sidewalk from the Dollar General to those apartments. I've noticed that some of the residents walk from the Dollar General to the apartments. And the other day I noticed a mom with the stroller and her baby walking from those apartments to Dollar General and back. And I didn't catch her in time to offer her a ride, but I really would appreciate if y'all would put a sidewalk and consider moms out there who might not have enough resources, especially with gas prices being so high. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. That was the last of the public comments. On to number 5, recognitions. Anyone that any board member would like to recognize? There being none, we move on to approval of the agenda. Any questions? Motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Have a second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. On to the approval of the consent agenda. Any questions?
So moved, Mr. Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Discussion items, additional land use regulations. Matthew Hogan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Commissioners. The draft outdoor advertising and billboard ordinance that you have before you tonight originated from your directive during the July 17th, 2023 meeting. During that meeting, you instructed the county manager to have staff draft a potential ordinance on this issue for your review. The ordinance before you, among other things, this draft ordinance before you would do the following. It would create different definitions for digital billboards versus non-digital billboards. It would only allow billboards on actively used commercial or industrial properties. It would not allow any billboards on scenic byways, other state-maintained roads, or private roads. It would impose historic and natural aesthetic design and height standards on non-digital billboards, and would only allow them along interstate highways or state highways. It would only allow digital billboards along designated interstates, which in our case would be future I-785. It would create a development review process, and an annual renewal permit, inspection, and fee would be established. The proposed fees on this would be $500 for an initial permit and $100 for annual inspection and renewal. And finally, the intent is that it will be ultimately formatted to fit into Article 9 of the Unified Development Ordinance. Now, where we are in the process right now, this is simply a draft ordinance that does not require a public hearing at this point. At this stage in the process, you may instruct us to amend or discard or really make any changes in any manner that you would like. We will then make those changes as requested. Ultimately, before this ordinance can go into effect, the planning board would need to review and make recommendation and consider and submit a consistency statement per North Carolina general statutes. Finally, it would then come back to you for a public hearing and final consideration. Again, I just want to stress that this ordinance is simply in the draft stage at this point, and I'll be glad to make any changes that the board requests. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have about this draft ordinance or billboard regulations in general.
Threw a lot out there pretty fast. Did you have any information on the recommendations y'all are gonna have for the distance between billboards?
That's really something that's up to the board ultimately. There's nothing in this draft ordinance that talks about distance spacing between billboards, but if that's the desire of the commissioners, then that's something we can certainly impose into the ordinance.
I know that had been talked about prior meetings here, that the thought was, I believe I actually threw that out there, wound up looking like south of the border on the way there, how you got them get stacked up going through.
Yes, sir, yeah. There is a distancing requirement spacing between from residential homes drafted in the ordinance. So yeah, something like that, distance spacing from intersections or other billboards or residential structures, that's all within the purview of the county to create those types of regulations.
So how does this affect the current billboards that are located on the city?
Yeah, so current billboards would, certainly if it's a non-digital billboard along a state highway, there's no issue there. We don't yet have any digital billboards in the county, but we have received development proposals for one on North 86, just before the state line. What this would do is basically say that digital billboard in the future, if it were to be, if the developer elected to take it down, they could not replace it with a new digital billboard. They would have to replace it with a non-digital billboard. Similarly, if there are non-digital billboards on state highways, they cannot be replaced with digital billboards. Again, digital billboards would only be allowed out on the interstate. So effectively, most of the billboards on county properties right now wouldn't be affected by this at all, that I'm aware of. There may be some double stacked billboards they wouldn't be able to rebuild, but there's non-conforming provisions in the ordinance that allows them to rebuild if a billboard is torn down or damaged or something of that nature.
Mr. Oakland, your heritage map that you
Yes,
passed
sir.
out, I'm taking by what you said that all of this area, the heritage route, so to speak, billboards would be prohibited altogether.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
That would be, on 86, it would be everything from Yanceville south to the county line.
Yes, sir, that is correct. And that's actually a North Carolina DOT regulation. So they only regulate billboards on interstate highways and, interstates and, state highways. It's outside of that, they don't touch it at all. But they also prohibit billboards on scenic byways. And so our draft would really just kind of reinforce that. Typically in the past, if there's a state regulation that applies countywide, it's good to just have the text in the local ordinance. So our citizens don't have to go look on the state level, they can look on the local level. So this regulation would more or less just simply reinforce the existing state regulation.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Thank you.
Yes, sir, thank you.
Next up, action item, county manager search using NCACC, Commissioner Yarborough.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, at our last meeting, Miss Amy Cannon with the NCACC was there talking about several different things, and I questioned her concerning their ability to help us with the county manager search. She went over the details, and since that time, she has forwarded all of you an email, more or less restating those same things that they would be willing to do to help us. We've got to begin this process sometime. And I think it would be good of this board to maybe go, to go down this route, not saying that they would find the perfect candidate or a candidate that we would even be willing to consider hiring, but it's a way to start the process in it. And I just put it out there for discussion to start with, and if it moves favorable, we'll go from there.
Was the statement made that there was no cost?
There, she did, I asked her about the cost, and she said there was no cost. And I told her the price was right. Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we contact the NCACC to begin the process of that organization assisting us in the search for new county manager.
I'll second the motion.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by
Discussion.
discussion.
No, the motion.
Any more discussion on this item before we hit take a vote? Mr. Jeffries, any discussion? Yes, sir. Yeah, we're last call for discussion on the NCACC helping us look for a county manager. Did you have any questions or anything you would like to ask?
One thing I'm gonna ask myself, do we need to reach out to them, or would that be something we want HR?
Working through HR and county manager and assistant county manager.
I can reach out.
We have to schedule a work session to go over all the details.
Any other questions, discussion? There being none, now, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. County manager updates.
Yes, Commissioners, at the last meeting, there was a question about the child talent acquisition team. That's the one that's a state board or a county board. It is a Castle County board, it's headed by Danielle. Next, please give your financial update. Next week, we expect a final draft in 2021 audit. And it's going to take approximately 3 weeks went through the audit team to get it approved, and we'll submit it first of October, hopefully, to the final review. At that time, we'll be working on the second year, 2022, and hopefully we'll have it ready to present the audit October 31st. Next, last week, we had 5 members attend the NCAA conference in Raleigh, 2 commissioners and 3 staff. And at that time, we had some very good conferences. We had seminars on understanding your financial departments, had seminars on completing access to broadband for underserved areas, which is the CAP program. And at the time, we talked about introduction to grant writing to go hand in hand with that. And there was one seminar on working together as a board. And finally, there was an educational seminar promoting education to the UNC School of Government, which I found to be very beneficial. So I think it's time well spent. The next item, last commissioners meeting, there was a question on the budget amendment for the gun memorial library. I think we left that hanging. So we want to see if there's any questions, see if we can get it cleared up tonight and address it to the commissioners. As I understand it, the former library director left a line item off the 23-24 budget. Line item that needed to be there because the expense would have ongoing each month is for digital software. So I think it's something we have to look at, we can discuss where the money comes from, but it's something we need to address, in my opinion. And finally, the Castle Parish sends a letter of appreciation for the $15,000 we allocated for their use to assist 19% of the Castle families that are now below the poverty level. And they went on to say that persons requiring food assistance since March is up 25 to 30%. So that money being well spent. Thank you.
Commissioner comments?
Mr. Smith, back up to what you were talking about as far as the library budget amendment. Delve into that a little bit deeper as to.
Okay. Talking to Jennifer today, there was an omission in the budget for 23-24 where they left off a line item for software for communications, basically, digital communications. And it's basically, maybe not necessarily Verizon, but digital providers that we have to use in the library every day. And it's a monthly ongoing tally of expenses. And it's something we need to address, we need to find the money somewhere to address that. And it's not a transfer of money, it's a new line item. It's be added to the budget.
How much was that?
$21,650. It's the same amount as it was last year, just got a bit overlooked.
It's not a new expenditure, it just was left out of the original budget.
The budget presentation. The director is no longer with the county.
Didn't we discuss this at the last meeting?
We did, but there was no decision made on
Okay.
that. So until the decision made, we need to do something soon.
Gotcha. Is this a monthly subscription? Is that what you just said?
Monthly.
It's digital subscriptions, it's various monthly subscriptions that the library has with different vendors. And it's pretty standard, they pay every month. hasn't changed in several years.
So 21,000 is yearly.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
They had a huge increase that was left off. Not quite sure how the math's adding up on that.
Commission. You, I think Carla knew what you were doing. Yes.
Talking about expenditure for the library, there's another request on there for being kicked around. Where are we at as far as the county financial situation? When will we know more about how dire it is? Are we expecting the
Next week, we should have a final draft, for 2021. And then that will go to the auditors, and auditors, hopefully by October 1st, we'll have it ready to present to the state. So this time, we're going to be working on 2022, and I think October 1st, we would hope to have it ready to present to the auditors. And then we'll see the work on 2023, October 31st, we'll have it presented, and hopefully by a year end, we'll be current to where we can start the budget process in January next year.
So are we currently under the restrictions of the state as far as the $50,000 loan? We have to have state approval, et cetera, what we've heard in here.
That's my understanding, Ms. Anderson. Will be so until we get current on the audits. So I see that. What I'm doing prior to number one. I'm working with the minister, and we're trying to do what I can to make things run smooth to where we can meet those goals.
Could we move some money around inside the library until we can find out where we're at financially?
Yes, sir.
I apologize, Mr. Chairman. I just spoke with Jennifer Hamnick, and I think she may be able to shed some light on this issue if she can be recognized in reference to the library budget line item.
So the amendment was actually approved in the consent agenda from last month. The consent agenda included the amendment for the library, as well as DSS, and it was voted on and it was approved. So to bring it back to the board today, it's as a discussion item only because it has already been approved via the consent agenda. So we were just clarifying, Commissioner Dickerson had a question about what the actual digital subscription consisted of. So we were just clarifying what those digital subscriptions were and why it was left off of the budget for 23-24 originally. So what actually happened was there was a brand new library director, had never done a budget, and it was accidentally omitted from the request for the 21,000. And the interim director discovered it, and that's why we did the amendment.
Let's speak, Mr. Chairman. I remember that lady getting up there and talking about everything was the same. I do not remember anything they said about going back to those 21,000.
It was supposed to be on there, but for some reason it was left off. But if you will remember in the original request, Ms. Walters requested a 10%, I believe it was at least a 10% increase in salary lines because she was asking for another position. So the overall budget had increased, and that's why we didn't catch the $21,000 not being in there.
So are you saying that 21,000 is already included in the total for their budget and it just left off as a line item and then money is already been allocated?
It was not originally in the budget at all. It was completely left out. The request was more than last year because she was requesting additional funding for a salary position. but the actual line item was not in the budget for the digital subscriptions.
We voted on.
So where are we at with this? Has it been approved and it's in it already, or is it still something the board needs to take action on?
The board doesn't need to take action on it, no, sir. It was approved in the consent agenda.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any commissioner comments?
Commissioner Collins. Well, the only thing I had, we went down to the AC conference, and that was a good conference that we should have went. We saw my colleagues could have been there. And one session I went in was that deal with how to get along and the vote we together. And I thought it was a very good section. I heard this young lady talk about it just right right in my lap, what she was saying. You know, it's not up to us to agree on everything. If I come up with an idea and you don't like it, you know, it might not be the right idea that you want. But at the same time, we're supposed to be able enough to go along with it if you think it's right. And the man that don't agree with it, he would somewhere along the line come up with that. If we get it right. And the next thing that I thought was very important, taxpayers. They said that we shouldn't do too many things that a taxpayer is not concerned brought into, because that's what remote Caswell County. And they had brought out a lot of interesting things about teamwork. And I know my county, and I kind of threw out a few points in that meeting. And, you know, that was some of the things that we say. We got to work together, start right here at the board. That's what I might not like what you're saying, but at the same time, I don't need to go around the line and dig up something and come back and do it. So these things stood out there, and I thought it was very important about the vote. And the next thing, I read another section about portable home, you know, and portable home, and was saying is like a kid might just come out of college, not raise the tax on him to pay on it. Let him go there as a low-paid person until he gets his feet on the ground. There's a lot of things came out in those sections down there that I hope this board, everyone else could have been there and really heard. I thought it was real good, and I appreciate it for you letting me go. And a lot of good things came out of that section down there. It definitely was good. And maybe some other commission person would have some kind of comments to that. Thank you.
Thank you for your feedback. Any other comments? There being none, on to the announcements of upcoming events. September the 11th, 2023, at 11 at the 911 Memorial Dedication will be held in the front lawn of the Historic Association. September 18th, 2023, Commissioners meeting at 6 p.m. at the Gun Memorial Library with the Board of Education and the NCDOT. September 23rd, 2023, Castle County Monthly Vote. Next up on our items tonight is a closed session to consult with an attorney employed or retained by the public body and attorney-client privilege between the attorney and the public body, which privilege is hereby acknowledged. NCGS 143-318-11A3. Do I have a motion to go into closed session? Do I have a second? All those in favor of going into closed session, signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. We're now in closed session.